The world holds secrets, silent and patient, waiting beneath layers of earth and stone. Across continents and centuries, cities once alive with voices, laughter, and the gentle rhythms of daily life now lie in quiet repose. Imagine streets where children once played, markets where traders haggled over exotic goods, temples filled with murmured prayers, and palaces echoing the whispers of rulers. Now empty, shrouded in the soft dust of forgotten times. There is a strange poetry in this disappearance, a gentle reminder that even the grandest creations are impermanent, and that silence can hold its own kind of beauty. As we begin our journey into the forgotten cities of history, we are invited not just to observe, but to feel. The air carries a weight of memory, a quiet echo of countless lives that once thrived and vanished. Some cities fell to conquest or fire, others to flood or famine, and yet others faded as their people slowly wandered away. What remains in each case is a whisper, a trace, a shadow, a stone wall standing steadfast against the slow passage of time. These remnants call to us, urging curiosity, reflection, and a sense of awe at the ephemeral nature of human endeavor. There's a contrast that threads through the story of every vanished city, the vibrancy of what once was against the serene stillness of what remains. A bustling street, alive with merchants and artisans, can now feel eerie in its absence, like the pages of a story waiting to be read aloud once more. In these spaces, the familiar rhythms of life are replaced by a soft, meditative silence. We begin to notice the subtle traces of humanity, a worn threshold, a fragment of pottery, a faintly carved symbol. These fragments offer a quiet testimony to creativity, ingenuity, and the resilience of human societies. Yet alongside the evidence of life, there is also an enduring mystery. Why do some cities thrive for centuries, only to vanish almost completely? How do the inhabitants perceive their own decline, if they sensed it at all? Scholars and archaeologists have long pieced together clues from foundations, artifacts, and ancient texts, yet much remains uncertain. In many ways, the unknown is what gives these cities their haunting allure. Their silence invites the imagination to wander, allowing listeners to drift between what we know and what we can only wonder about. In this exploration, we will move softly across time and space, from the earliest clusters of human habitation to great metropolises lost beneath sand, ash, and jungle. We will visit cities frozen in moments of glory, cities abandoned to nature's slow reclamation, and cities whose disappearance was as quiet as a fading breath. Each location carries its own story, its own rhythm of life and decay, yet all share a common theme: the passage of time and the way memory lingers even when structures crumble. As night falls over our imagined landscapes, we are reminded that silence is not absence. It is presence in a different form. It is the soft voice of history, a gentle lullaby that calls us to slow down and listen. The cities we will encounter are not just ruins. They are echoes of human experience, reflections of the dreams and struggles that shaped our world. In drifting through their stories, we enter a space where curiosity and contemplation intertwine, where history becomes both a lesson and a gentle invitation to rest. Let us begin this journey softly, allowing our minds to wander along deserted streets, across empty plazas, and through once grand temples. In the quiet, we will hear the pulse of life that once thrummed here, faint yet persistent. Each step brings us closer to understanding the fragile beauty of human civilization, the delicate line between presence and absence, and the enduring mystery of cities that slipped into silence. Here, beneath the dust and stone, history waits to be whispered once more. In the heart of Anatolia, beneath the soft, undulating hills of modern-day Turkey, lies the ancient city of Catalhook, a place where the pulse of human civilization first began to beat with a rhythm of its own. This early settlement, one of the oldest and most remarkable urban centers in the world, stands as a testament to human innovation, creativity, and the profound need for connection. Yet, like so many other cities of its time, it slipped quietly into the past, leaving behind only its ruins and mysteries to be uncovered millennia later. As we step back in time to around 7,500 BCE, we find ourselves in a settlement that, while primitive by today's standards, held the seeds of modern civilization. Catalhoyuk was a sprawling village, its dense clusters of mud brick houses sitting side by side, connected by narrow walkways and rooftops rather than streets. It is here that humanity began to experiment with architecture, art, and community in ways that would shape the future. Its people lived in an interconnected world, where daily life was shaped by the cycles of nature and the bond of shared existence. In these quiet, isolated dwellings, the early residents of Catalhoyuk lived in close quarters, their homes built directly on top of one another. This seemingly strange arrangement, where entry was made via ladders leading to rooftops, suggests a deep sense of communal living, where privacy was not a priority and the collective spirit of the community came first. The dwellings were simple, yet they held traces of something greater. Each room adorned with intricate murals and figurines, hinting at a rich spiritual life and a deep connection to the natural world. The art on the walls, depicting animals, human figures, and abstract symbols, suggests that the people of Catalhoyuk were not just surviving. They were creating, expressing, and imagining. But despite this vibrant existence, something led to the city's eventual decline and eventual abandonment. Was it a slow, gradual shift in the environment as the climate changed and resources became scarce? Or was it a more subtle, social transformation, one where the needs of the community changed and the once thriving city slowly faded into the background of history? The answer, as with so many ancient cities, remains elusive. Yet the silence that surrounds the ruins of Catalhoyuk speaks volumes. One theory suggests that the climate may have played a significant role in the city's decline. The region, once lush and fertile, may have slowly succumbed to drier conditions, which would have strained the city's agricultural base and forced its people to search for new lands to settle. Others point to the possibility of social or political upheaval. Perhaps internal strife or an external threat caused the city to fragment and its people to scatter. Yet, another theory suggests that the people of Catalhoyuk may have simply chosen to leave, perhaps in search of more fertile lands or new opportunities for growth. In many ways, the city's abandonment is as mysterious as its rise. Despite its decline, Catalhoyuk's legacy endures. Its art, its architecture, and its social structure have given modern archaeologists invaluable insights into the early human experience. The murals on the walls, depicting scenes of nature and animals, suggest that the people of Catalhoyuk lived in harmony with their surroundings, seeing themselves as a part of the natural world, rather than separate from it. The sculptures and figurines, often of animals and women, hint at religious beliefs and the possibility of animistic or goddess-worshipping practices that may have been central to their worldview. But it's the city's very silence that is perhaps the most profound. Catalhoyuk's abandonment, like that of so many ancient cities, leaves behind an aura of mystery, an almost palpable sense of something lost, something that once held meaning but now exists only as a whisper in the dust. As we stand in the ruins of this once thriving city, it's easy to imagine the lives of those who lived here, their laughter, their struggles, their hopes for the future. But as the wind blows through the empty streets and over the cracked walls, we are reminded that time has its own rhythm, one that we cannot control. The city of Catalhoyuk serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of civilization. It reminds us that even the most advanced and well-planned cities can be overtaken by time and nature. It whispers to us that no matter how hard we try, we cannot escape the inevitable passage of time. The silence that now surrounds Catalhoyuk is not an absence. It is a presence that invites us to reflect on our own lives and our own cities. What will remain of us, of our creations, when time has passed and our stories are lost to the dust? Yet, even in its silence, Catalhoyuk speaks to us in ways that are both humbling and inspiring. Its ruins are a testament to the enduring spirit of human endeavor, the desire to create, to express, and to connect. The walls, still standing after thousands of years, remind us that the things we create, no matter how small, can endure long after we are gone. They remind us that the story of humanity is one of resilience, of rebuilding and reimagining, even in the face of mystery and uncertainty. As we leave the ruins of Catalhoyuk behind, we take with us the knowledge that the city, though silent, is far from forgotten. Its echoes continue to resonate in the hearts and minds of those who seek to understand the past, and its legacy lives on in the stories of the cities that came after it. Like all forgotten places, Catalhoyuk calls us to listen closely, to pay attention to the whispers of the past, and to remember that even in silence, there is a story waiting to be told. And so, as we turn away from this ancient site, we are left with a profound understanding that the true mystery of forgotten cities is not their disappearance, but the enduring questions they leave behind. What happened here? What do we learn from these echoes of the past? And most importantly, what will be the legacy of our own cities when the winds of time and memory blow over them, leaving behind only whispers in the dust? As we leave behind the quiet, dust-laden streets of Catalhoyuk, our journey takes us north, across a landscape where the wind seems to carry whispers from the distant past. Just as the echoes of one forgotten city fade into memory, another rises to meet us, a place where time itself seems suspended between past and present. The wind-swept islands of the Orkney archipelago, lying off the northern coast of Scotland, cradle the remains of Skara Brae, a village that, much like Catalhoyuk, speaks through the silence of its abandoned homes. Skara Brae's story, while separated by thousands of miles and millennia, mirrors that of other ancient cities, a thriving community that was, over time, swallowed by the forces of nature, leaving only its quiet, enduring presence. The village itself was abandoned long before written records could capture its story. And yet, it is here, nestled among the windswept dunes of Orkney, where we encounter one of the most evocative snapshots of Neolithic life, a window into a distant, almost forgotten world. Skara Brae is a city of stone, each structure a testament to the ingenuity and endurance of its people. Its dwellings, remarkably well-preserved thanks to the protective blanket of earth and sand that encased them for centuries, speak of a sophisticated society far removed from the sprawling metropolises that would follow. Unlike the clustered homes of Catalhoyuk, the houses of Skara Brae are laid out in a circular pattern, each one connected by passageways, and each one built to withstand the harshness of the elements. The thick stone walls and low, domed roofs suggest that the people who lived here were well prepared for the unpredictable nature of the Orkney weather. Cold winds, relentless rain, and the occasional storm surge that threatened to erase everything in its path. The people of Skara Brae lived in harmony with the island's rugged beauty. Their homes, crafted from local stone, are surprisingly sophisticated for their time. Inside, remnants of stone furniture, benches, hearths, and storage compartments remain, giving us a glimpse into their daily lives. The skill with which these homes were built reflects a deep understanding of both the environment and a need for community. These were not solitary lives. The people of Skara Brae existed in a tightly knit, cooperative society, bound by their shared experience of survival in one of the harshest climates in Europe. Yet, like so many other cities, Skara Brae vanished, its once vibrant streets now silent, its hearths cold. It is here, at the edge of the North Sea, where the story of this village unfolds, not through the sounds of voices or the clatter of daily life, but through the quiet presence of stone and earth. It is here that we are faced with the question, what happened to the people of Skara Brae? Why did they leave this place, seemingly without a trace, leaving behind only their homes, their tools, and their stories etched in stone? The answer to this question is as elusive as the wind that sweeps across the island. Scholars have speculated that the village may have been abandoned due to environmental factors, Perhaps a shift in climate or the depletion of local resources made life unsustainable. The island of Orkney, like many other places, is no stranger to the whims of nature. Rising sea levels or changes in weather patterns may have altered the land in ways that the people of Skara Brae could not have anticipated. Alternatively, some researchers suggest that the community's abandonment may have been a cultural shift. Perhaps the people of Skara Brae, after living in this isolated village for generations, simply chose to move on, seeking new opportunities for trade, resources, or social interaction elsewhere. Whatever the cause, the silence that now envelopes Skara Brae is both haunting and serene. It speaks of a civilization that once flourished here, its people living in balance with their environment. Yet it also speaks of the transient nature of human existence. In the same way that the winds of Orkney slowly erode the stone walls, time erodes all things. Cities, no matter how carefully constructed, are subject to forces beyond their control, whether those forces be natural or social, internal or external. The passage of time is as inevitable as the tides that wash over the shores of Skara Brae, leaving in their wake only memories and questions. But it is not just the mystery of why Skara Brae was abandoned that intrigues us. It is also the quiet resilience of the place itself. Despite the passage of thousands of years, the stone houses stand as a silent testament to human endurance. While the people who once called this village home have long since disappeared, their creations remain, enduring through the years like echoes in the wind. Each stone, each piece of furniture, each carefully constructed wall speaks of a people who, like all others, sought to create something lasting, something that would endure beyond their own lifetimes. Skara Brae, in its silence, reminds us that cities, like lives, have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But even in their endings, they leave something behind, a trace of their existence, a clue to the lives that once filled them. And perhaps that is the true mystery of forgotten cities. Not that they vanished, but that they left something for us to find. In the case of Skara Brae, it is the stones that remain, each one quietly whispering a story that has been waiting to be heard. As we continue our journey through time, moving from one vanished city to the next, we carry with us the memory of Skara Brae, a place where time is both still and ever-moving, where the wind carries the stories of the past, and where silence is not the absence of life, but its echo. On the windswept shores of the Orkney Islands, the village of Skara Brae lies quietly beneath the soft light of early morning. But as we continue to drift through the echoes of human history, another story begins to unfold. A city preserved not by stone alone, but by the very elements that once threatened it. Here, on the edge of the North Atlantic, the Neolithic settlement reveals a way of life that has survived millennia, offering us a window into a world where daily life, community, and survival were inextricably intertwined. It is in places like this that the line between the known and the unknown blurs, where history whispers more than it shouts, and where mystery lingers in every shadowed corner. Skara Brae, remarkably preserved under layers of sand and soil, gives us a rare glimpse of a people who lived in intimate connection with the land. Its homes, constructed of local stone, are connected by narrow passageways, as if the village itself were a single organism, breathing and shifting with the rhythms of its inhabitants. Unlike the sprawling villages of other regions, the structures here are low and compact, built to withstand the fierce winds and rain that lash the islands throughout the year. The stone furniture, the benches carved directly from walls, the hearths, and the storage areas all speak to a people who valued practicality, community, and resilience. Each detail, from the carefully arranged stones to the orientation of the rooms, reflects an understanding of the land that modern observers can only admire. What makes Skara Brae particularly fascinating is how it bridges the gap between daily life and the intangible. Unlike larger cities where monumental architecture dominates, here, the human scale is intimate. One can imagine the soft murmur of conversation around the hearth, the smell of fires burning to ward off the cold, and the careful hands crafting tools and ornaments from bone and stone. The city was alive, not with monumental spectacle, but with the quiet pulse of ordinary human activity. And yet, like many ancient cities, it was abandoned long before we could fully understand its story, leaving behind a silence that is both profound and haunting. The reason for Skara Brae's disappearance is still a matter of speculation. Archaeologists have suggested several possibilities: rising sea levels that gradually encroached on the village, climatic shifts that made farming more difficult, or perhaps social changes that led the community to disperse. There's a softness in this uncertainty, a gentle invitation for the imagination to wander, to consider how a thriving human settlement could be slowly reclaimed by nature. It is in this gentle tension between what is known and what is unknown that the city's true magic lies. Its silence, far from being empty, is full of questions, echoing the mysteries of survival, adaptation, and the fragility of civilization. Skara Brae's preservation also offers insights into the sophistication of its people. While the village may appear simple at first glance, it is a testament to ingenuity, organization, and care. The dwellings are remarkably uniform, suggesting some form of planning, while the presence of communal spaces hints at a society that valued collaboration over individual isolation. The careful placement of hearths and sleeping areas shows an understanding of daily routines and domestic life, while the arrangement of tools and storage areas hints at the importance of both work and leisure. This is a city that speaks softly, not in grand gestures or monumental edifices, but in the intimate details of human existence. And yet, despite all this, the village was abandoned, slowly surrendering to the elements. Winds swept through the passageways, rains softened the soil, and sand began to creep into the homes, eventually encasing them in a protective blanket. In this quiet, nature became both the village's destroyer and its preserver. The same forces that might have made life difficult for its inhabitants ultimately ensured that the memory of their existence would survive for thousands of years. There is a delicate beauty in this cycle, the way life, struggle, and environment intertwine, leaving behind traces that speak across time. The story of Skara Brae invites reflection on the impermanence of human settlements. Even the most carefully constructed cities, those built with skill, foresight, and care, are ultimately vulnerable to the slow but inexorable forces of nature. There is a lesson in this quiet truth. Permanence is an illusion, and yet, in striving to leave a mark, we create echoes that endure far longer than we might expect. Each stone in Skara Brae, each carefully carved bench, each hearth, is a whisper of human presence, a signal that even in absence, life once thrived here. There is also an emotional resonance in the village's silence. Walking through its passageways in the mind's eye, one cannot help but feel the weight of thousands of years, the gentle pull of memory, and the soft resonance of lives once lived. The echoes of human existence are everywhere. The tools left behind, the arrangement of the rooms, the patterns etched into the stone walls. They are small, subtle, and yet profoundly affecting, inviting a kind of calm contemplation that only forgotten cities can inspire. As we leave Skara Brae behind, the journey of these early urban landscapes reminds us that the story of humanity is a tapestry of both creation and disappearance. Each city we encounter carries the duality of life and silence, presence and absence. Skara Brae, with its intimate dwellings and wind-swept corridors, teaches us that history is not always loud or monumental. It is often quiet, subtle, and infinitely patient. Its story encourages us to listen closely, to notice the small traces left behind, and to appreciate the fragile, fleeting beauty of human endeavor. And so, as the wind sweeps across the Orkney landscape, carrying dust, memory, and the faint echoes of ancient voices, we prepare to leave these stone homes behind. Ahead, the journey continues toward distant lands, where other forgotten cities await, each with its own rhythm, its own silence, and its own mysteries waiting to be discovered. In following these footsteps, we drift further into the quiet currents of history, allowing the soft whispers of the past to guide us, one city at a time. Far to the east, along the fertile plains of the Indus River, lies the remnants of a city that once pulsed with extraordinary sophistication, Mohenjo-Daro. Unlike the small clusters of stone and mud brick homes in Catalhook or the compact stone village of Scarabray, Mohenjo-Daro was a sprawling metropolis, carefully planned and ingeniously constructed. Its streets, laid out in precise grids, its wells and drainage systems, and its standardized bricks all speak of a civilization that valued order, hygiene, and urban organization in ways that would not be matched for centuries. And yet, despite its brilliance, Mohenjo-Daro too fell silent, leaving behind a city of quiet stone and unanswered questions. As we enter this ancient city in our imagination, we can almost hear the faint murmur of life. Children playing in courtyards, merchants arranging their goods, the rhythmic patter of footsteps along carefully paved streets. The houses, some multi-storied, were built of uniform baked bricks, a testament to the city's meticulous planning. The presence of wells and an intricate drainage system suggests that public health and communal well-being were paramount, hinting at a society capable of long-term planning and cooperation. The city was vibrant and full of human ingenuity, yet its design reflects more than just practical needs. It speaks to a people who sought harmony in their surroundings, a balance between human activity and the natural environment. But as with all forgotten cities, Mohenjo-Daro's brilliance was not enough to withstand the currents of history. The city's decline remains shrouded in mystery, its reasons still debated among scholars. Some suggest that changes in the Indus River's course may have deprived the city of water and trade opportunities, slowly undermining its economic base. Others speculate that environmental shifts, including drought or flooding, may have made agriculture and daily life increasingly difficult. Perhaps the city succumbed to social or political upheaval or to pressures from neighboring communities. The truth is uncertain, and it is this uncertainty that gives the city its haunting allure. The silence that now blankets Mohenjo-Daro is not empty. It is thick with questions, inviting us to imagine the lives that once filled its streets. Walking through Mohenjo-Daro, even in imagination, one is struck by contrasts. The city's uniform bricks, orderly streets, and public baths speak to order and structure, yet the reasons for its disappearance remain unknown. The very features that suggest careful planning, its advanced sanitation, organized layout, and standardization, also remind us that even the most sophisticated systems cannot fully withstand the forces of nature and time. Here, in the contrast between brilliance and silence, between human ingenuity and the unknowable hand of history, lies the profound meditation that makes Mohenjo-Daro so compelling. The Great Bath, perhaps the most iconic feature of Mohenjo-Daro, evokes both the daily life and the spirituality of its people. A large, sunken pool constructed from baked bricks and sealed with bitumen. It hints at ritual practices, community gatherings, or perhaps a combination of both. One can imagine the citizens of Mohenjo-Daro moving through its waters, cleansing themselves in a routine that was both practical and symbolic. The bath, still intact after thousands of years, stands as a silent witness to lives that were once full of movement, laughter, and quiet contemplation. Its preservation, like the city itself, bridges the gap between what is known and what remains a mystery. Equally remarkable are the residential neighborhoods, with their narrow lanes, courtyards, and raised platforms. Life here was communal, yet deeply personal. Families would have shared space closely, yet each household retained its own hearth, its own private corner of the city. Artifacts, stone tools, pottery, and ornaments offer glimpses into daily existence, hinting at work, play, and ritual. And yet, despite this detailed record, the people themselves remain silent. Their language, inscribed on clay seals, has largely eluded decipherment, leaving behind an echo of human thought and culture that is tantalizingly out of reach. The city's disappearance, whether gradual or sudden, is a reminder that even the most organized civilizations are vulnerable. Nature, trade patterns, and the delicate balance of human society can shift in ways that overwhelm even the most meticulous urban planning. The Indus civilization, of which Mohenjo-daro was a part, eventually fragmented, leaving behind cities abandoned to the elements. Today, the wind brushes softly over the streets, the ruins lie under the sun, and the once thriving city exists primarily in memory, in imagination, and in the careful study of archaeologists who attempt to piece together the story of life here. In imagining Mohenjo-daro, we are drawn into a reflection on the fragility and resilience of human societies. The city reminds us that civilization is not permanent, that even the most brilliant achievements can succumb to forces beyond our control. And yet, it also reminds us of the enduring power of human creativity. The bricks, the baths, the streets, and the artifacts all speak of a people who built with care, planned with foresight, and lived with a sense of purpose. Their legacy, though silent, continues to teach us about ingenuity, community, and the delicate dance between human ambition and the natural world. Mohenjo-daro also inspires a kind of quiet wonder, inviting contemplation rather than judgment. The city's empty streets are not merely a record of failure or loss. They're a space for reflection, where we can explore the continuity of human experience, the patterns of rise and decline, and the resilience that allows civilizations to leave traces even in silence. The contrast between what was and what remains, the city alive with energy versus the city now hushed, offers a meditation on impermanence that is both humbling and comforting. As we leave Mohenjo-daro behind, the city lingers in our minds as a city of silent streets, a place where human achievement and human mystery coexist. It reminds us that history is not only measured in grand monuments or written records, but also in the whispers left in abandoned homes, in forgotten streets, and in the careful traces of daily life. Mohenjo-daro's story, like all forgotten cities, is a story of humanity itself, brilliant, fragile, and ultimately enduring in ways both tangible and ephemeral. As we leave behind the orderly streets and silent baths of Mohenjo-daro, our journey gently shifts to a broader contemplation. The rivers that nurtured human civilization, and yet, in their quiet and relentless way, could also reshape, reclaim, or erase entire cities. From the Indus, whose waters cradled Mohenjo-daro, to the Tigris and Euphrates of Mesopotamia, water has always been both a giver of life and a harbinger of change. It is along these rivers that some of humanity's earliest stories unfolded, stories of abundance and struggle, construction and disappearance, growth and decay. Rivers are the veins of the earth, carrying sustenance, trade, and opportunity, yet also demanding respect. In their gentle flooding, they deposit fertile silt that allows crops to flourish. In their violent shifts, they can wash away the carefully laid bricks of a city or drown entire communities. The civilizations that thrived along these waterways developed in intimate dialogue with the land, learning to harness water for irrigation, sanitation, and transport. Yet, for all their ingenuity, they remained at the mercy of the river's moods. The Indus, which had once been a lifeline for Mohenjo-daro, may have shifted course, diverting trade routes and undermining the agricultural foundation that sustained the city. Such a subtle change, almost imperceptible at first, can ripple through the social and economic fabric, eventually leaving even the grandest settlements abandoned and silent. As we drift across continents in our imagination, we notice the patterns repeated in Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates nurtured the cities of Sumer, Akkad, and Babylon. Here, too, river floods could be generous, providing rich soil and abundant harvests, but they could also be capricious, destroying homes and leaving fields barren. The contrast is striking. On one hand, rivers brought life and the promise of civilization. On the other, they carried the quiet thread of disappearance. It is in this duality, the giver and taker, that we find a recurring motif among forgotten cities. Nature, while enabling human achievement, is also a silent arbiter of its limits. The relationship between humans and rivers is, in many ways, a dialogue between ambition and humility. Civilizations built levees, canals, and reservoirs, attempting to master the flow of water, yet the rivers themselves retained a quiet authority. When Mohenjo-daro was abandoned, or when Mesopotamian cities were slowly deserted, it was often the subtle changes in these waterways, shifts imperceptible from one season to the next, that triggered cascading consequences. The rivers remind us that human history is intertwined with forces far larger than ourselves, forces that are both nurturing and indifferent. In considering these waters, there's also a poetic rhythm that emerges. Rivers move continuously, carrying sediment, stories, and memory downstream, linking one city to another across space and time. The Indus may have nourished Mohenjo-daro, while the Euphrates and Tigris supported Mari and Uar. Though separated by geography, these cities share a common thread. Their existence and survival were intimately tied to the lifeblood flowing beside them. And yet, when the rivers changed, whether through gradual climate shifts, tectonic activity, or human intervention, these same arteries of life could also contribute to silence, leaving behind ruins to be rediscovered millennia later. This reflection also carries a subtle lesson about human resilience and impermanence. Cities are not only built on stone, clay, or brick, they are built on the natural systems that sustain them. When those systems falter, human settlements falter as well. Yet even in abandonment, traces endure. Ruins speak of ingenuity, artifacts hint at daily life, and the rivers themselves continue to flow, whispering the continuity of time. There is a calm in recognizing that although civilizations may vanish, the world endures, and the waters continue their quiet passage, carrying with them the memory of lives once lived. The rivers that give and take remind us that every city is part of a larger network of life, trade, and environment. No settlement exists in isolation. The choices of one generation, where to build, how to manage water, when to harvest, resonate downstream and across centuries. In this sense, the story of abandoned cities is not merely one of decay. It is a meditation on connection, interdependence, and the subtle interplay of forces that shape human history. As our minds drift along the river's path, we transition gently toward the next city in our journey, Mari, the desert palace city that thrived along the Euphrates. Here, the waters that once nourished crops and commerce continue to shape the story, even as the city itself has slipped into silence. The rivers, persistent and patient, carry the echoes of life and the mystery of disappearance, guiding us onward through time, reminding us that every civilization, no matter how grand, exists within the delicate balance of nature's rhythms. As our journey moves down the Euphrates, we arrive at Mari, an ancient city that once rose proudly along the fertile banks of the river. Unlike the compact settlements of Skara or the meticulously planned streets of Mohenjo-daro, Mari was a city of grandeur, where palace walls towered above bustling streets and the pulse of trade and governance resonated across the desert. It was a hub of administration, commerce, and culture, a city that thrived at the crossroads of civilizations, yet today lies silent, its ruins softly blending with the surrounding sands. Walking through Mari in our imagination, we can sense a city alive with movement. Merchants negotiating the exchange of grain, textiles, and rare goods, scribes recording transactions on clay tablets, and courtiers navigating the intricate networks of palace life. Archaeologists have uncovered remains of lavish palaces, public buildings, and fortified walls, evidence of a city that was both prosperous and strategically important. Yet, despite its prominence, Mari eventually succumbed to forces that reshaped its destiny, leaving behind only fragments and whispers of its former vitality. At the heart of Mari stood the royal palace, a sprawling complex of courtyards, chambers, and administrative offices. Here, kings and officials managed trade networks that spanned distant lands, coordinated defense against external threats, and oversaw the day-to-day governance of the city. The palace walls were adorned with detailed inscriptions, intricate artwork, and symbols of power, offering glimpses into the ceremonial and political life that unfolded within. The level of sophistication and organization reveals a society that valued knowledge, record-keeping, and a sense of order amidst the unpredictable rhythms of desert life. One of the most remarkable discoveries at Mari was its extensive archive of clay tablets, inscribed with cuneiform script. These texts, numbering in the tens of thousands, record legal contracts, correspondence between rulers, and administrative details that illuminate the complex machinery of the city. In these writings, we catch echoes of daily life, the agreements between merchants, the instructions of governors, the pleas of citizens, and the deliberations of kings. Each tablet is a frozen fragment of human thought, a voice reaching across millennia to tell us that life here was vibrant, purposeful, and meticulously organized. Yet, as with so many ancient cities, Mari's brilliance could not shield it from the inexorable passage of time. The reasons for its decline are manifold and partly shrouded in mystery. Environmental changes, including fluctuations in the Euphrates flow, may have disrupted agriculture and trade. Political upheavals and military conquests, common in the volatile landscapes of Mesopotamia, likely contributed to the city's abandonment. Over time, Mari slipped quietly into the desert sands, its streets emptied, its walls crumbling, leaving behind the faint outlines of a once thriving metropolis. The city's disappearance, gradual yet complete, speaks to the delicate balance between human ambition and the forces of nature and history. As we wander through the imagined streets of Mari, we notice the interplay between permanence and impermanence. The mud brick walls, carefully constructed and maintained, once stood as symbols of resilience, yet they were vulnerable to both the elements and human intervention. Even the Grand Palace, with all its administrative prowess and architectural elegance, could not endure indefinitely. In this contrast between the city's achievements and its quiet demise, there is a soft lesson about the fragility of human endeavor and the inevitable transformation brought by time. The desert that surrounds Mari plays a silent role in this story. Once a backdrop for commerce, agriculture, and daily life, it eventually reclaimed the city, enveloping its streets and structures in quiet solitude. The desert does not rush. It does not speak loudly. It moves slowly, patiently, gradually covering what was once vibrant with a soft, almost meditative layer of sand. It is in this slow reclamation that the city's story acquires a reflective quality, inviting contemplation rather than alarm, allowing us to consider the rhythms of rise and fall in human history with a sense of calm curiosity. Mari also teaches us about the human capacity to create complex societies even in challenging environments. Despite the harsh desert surroundings, its inhabitants engineered water systems, cultivated fields, and established trade routes that linked distant regions. The city was a center of communication and culture, a hub where ideas, goods, and technologies converged. It reminds us that human ingenuity has always found ways to flourish, even in places where survival seemed precarious. And yet it also reminds us that no ingenuity can fully resist the passage of time. The quiet of Mari today amplifies its power to inspire reflection. Walking through its imagined streets, one can feel the resonance of thousands of lives. Merchants negotiating deals, scribes scratching clay tablets, children playing in narrow lanes, and rulers planning the future of their city. The absence of these voices now allows us to focus on the subtle traces they left behind. The layout of streets, the placement of buildings, the remnants of everyday objects. The city's silence invites a form of listening, where imagination reconstructs life and time slows, allowing us to enter a meditative state of contemplation about human existence and its fleeting, yet meaningful, nature. As we prepare to leave Mari, the desert winds seem to carry both memory and mystery, gently sweeping through the ruins as if whispering the city's long-forgotten stories. The city may have fallen into silence, but its legacy endures in the fragments it left behind, in the clay tablets, the palace foundations, and the echoes of commerce and governance. Mari stands as a reminder that civilization, no matter how complex or grand, is subject to the ebb and flow of nature, human ambition, and the imperceptible changes that, over time, reshape entire societies. The story of Mari, like the rivers that sustained it, is a meditation on transience, resilience, and the delicate interplay between human achievement and the forces beyond human control. It prepares us, gently and thoughtfully, to move onward to other forgotten cities, places shaped by water, sand, and stone, where life once thrived and eventually slipped quietly into silence, leaving traces that invite reflection and wonder. As we drift from the desert winds of Mari, our journey takes us across the sea to the island of Thera, known today as Santorini. Here lies the ancient city of Akrotiri, a settlement preserved in a moment of abrupt stillness, frozen beneath the heavy mantle of volcanic ash. Unlike the gradual silence that claimed cities such as Mohenjo-daro or Mari, Akrotiri's abandonment seems almost instantaneous, leaving behind a city that speaks directly across millennia. It is a place where the past is so vividly captured that one can almost feel the heartbeat of its people, preserved in the stillness of ash and stone. Akrotiri was a city of color, commerce, and culture, a hub of the Aegean world during the Bronze Age. Its streets, paved and well-planned, threaded between multi-storied houses adorned with vivid frescoes, each one bursting with life and movement. These murals, depicting dolphins leaping through waves, dancers in flowing garments, and intricate patterns of flora and fauna, give us a rare glimpse into the aesthetic sensibilities and daily joys of its residents. The city's architecture was sophisticated. Homes had multiple levels, storage spaces, and careful ventilation systems. The precision of construction and the richness of decoration speak of a society deeply invested in both function and beauty, a civilization aware of its surroundings and its own capacity to create. Walking through the imagined streets of Akrotiri, one can almost hear the murmur of daily life. Merchants arranging their wares, children laughing in courtyards, the distant clatter of pottery being shaped by skilled hands. The city was alive with trade, connecting Thera to islands and continents across the Aegean. Akrotiri was not isolated. It was a crossroads of exchange, culture, and ideas. Yet, despite this vibrancy, the city was entirely abandoned in the face of an impending catastrophe. There is a haunting beauty in imagining the residents' swift departure, perhaps with only what they could carry, leaving behind a city that would be preserved almost perfectly by the eruptive power of the volcano. The volcanic eruption that covered Akrotiri in ash was both destructive and preservative. As lava and ash fell, it obliterated the immediate world, yet it simultaneously sealed it in time, capturing murals, artifacts, and architecture in extraordinary detail. Walking through the ruins today, or imagining doing so, we see houses intact, furniture still in place, and stairways unbroken. Unlike other abandoned cities, Akrotiri offers an almost cinematic snapshot of life paused, a moment caught mid-breath, mid-gesture, mid-thought. The ash itself becomes a medium of storytelling, silently narrating the city's final days, preserving details that would otherwise have vanished into the past. Yet, within this frozen tableau, there is an enduring mystery. The reasons for Akrotiri's abandonment remain partly speculative. Some suggest that the eruption prompted an orderly evacuation, allowing the residents to flee to safer islands or the mainland. Others propose that seismic activity, minor tremors, or early signs of volcanic unrest may have signaled the need to leave. Regardless of the precise cause, the city's abandonment was remarkably complete, leaving behind streets devoid of human presence, but rich with evidence of lives once lived. The sudden stillness of Akrotiri contrasts sharply with the slow decline of cities like Mari, highlighting how different forces, both human and natural, shape the fate of civilizations. In exploring Akrotiri, We also observe the intimate scale of human experience within the grand sweep of nature. The city's homes, although part of a larger settlement, are carefully designed for the rhythm of daily life. Kitchens, storage rooms, and communal spaces reveal patterns of social interaction, domestic labor, and celebration. The frescoes that adorn the walls are not mere decoration. They are glimpses into cultural identity, aesthetics, and possibly even religious practice. The city, in essence, speaks of people who were acutely aware of the beauty around them, who sought to shape it into something permanent, even as the forces of nature reminded them of life's fragility. Akrotiri also reminds us of the paradox of human endeavor. The more we invest in permanence, the more evident becomes our vulnerability. The city's preservation under ash was accidental, a gift of circumstance rather than human planning. Without the eruption, Akrotiri might have disappeared entirely, eroded by time and weather, its stories lost to memory as so many other settlements have been. In this way, the city stands as a meditation on the delicate balance between human aspiration and nature's indifference, between creation and preservation, life and silence. There is a meditative quality in imagining the quiet corridors and empty stairways of Akrotiri today. The absence of voices allows us to hear the city in a different way, through the texture of stone, the patterns of frescoes, and the careful arrangement of domestic spaces. It invites reflection on the lives that were lived here, the children who played, the families who gathered for meals, the artisans and traders who shaped the economy and culture. Every corner, every fragment of pottery, every painted wall holds memory, offering us a subtle, almost lullaby-like narrative of human presence and absence. As we leave Akrotiri behind, the volcanic ash that once silenced the city becomes a symbol of both fragility and endurance. The eruption reminds us that nature shapes human history in ways beyond prediction. Yet the preservation it affords ensures that the voices of the past are not lost entirely. Akrotiri invites us to pause, to reflect, and to drift into contemplation, carrying with us a sense of wonder at the resilience, creativity, and ephemeral beauty of human life. From here, our journey will continue inland and across continents, moving towards cities that were not frozen by ash, but slowly reclaimed by forest and time. The memory of Akrotiri, frozen in stillness yet vivid in imagination, lingers as a reminder of the delicate balance between human ambition and the world around it, and of the silent stories waiting to be discovered in every forgotten city. From the volcanic ash of Santorini, our journey turns south, across continents and oceans, to the rolling hills of southeastern Africa, where the remains of great Zimbabwe rise like a silent sentinel on the plateau. Unlike the orderly streets of Mohenjo-daro or the carefully preserved homes of Akrotiri, Great Zimbabwe is a city of stone without mortar, a labyrinth of walls and enclosures that has endured centuries of wind, sun, and silence. Its towering structures, some reaching over 10 meters high, evoke both awe and mystery, standing as a testament to human ingenuity, ambition, and the quiet endurance of culture long after its people departed. Great Zimbabwe was the heart of a powerful kingdom that thrived from the 11th to the 15th centuries, a city built entirely from granite blocks meticulously stacked without the use of cement or binding materials. Walking through its remains and imagination, we sense the labor, skill, and organization required to create such monumental constructions. The Great Enclosure, the largest single ancient structure in sub-Saharan Africa, with its curving walls and intricate passageways, hints at both social hierarchy and ceremonial purpose. These walls, winding like a river of stone, invite contemplation, as if they are slowly whispering the stories of kings, traders, and artisans who once called this place home. Unlike cities abandoned by sudden catastrophe, Great Zimbabwe gradually fell silent, its decline tied to shifts in trade, politics, and environment. The city had been a hub of regional commerce, connecting gold mines, cattle herders, and far-reaching trade networks that extended across the Indian Ocean. Spices, ivory, and gold flowed through its marketplaces, and its rulers wielded influence across vast territories. Yet, as trade routes shifted and political power changed hands, the city's prominence waned. Over time, its streets emptied, its structures weathered by wind and rain, leaving behind a labyrinth of stone that continues to intrigue historians, archaeologists, and travelers alike. The ingenuity of Great Zimbabwe lies not only in its scale, but in its adaptation to the landscape. The city was carefully integrated with its natural surroundings, built upon a plateau that provided strategic oversight of the surrounding valleys. Its stone walls, terraces, and enclosures were constructed to follow the contours of the land, creating a sense of harmony between human engineering and nature. This careful balance is one of the reasons the ruins have endured for centuries, silently narrating a story of human ambition married to environmental awareness. Within these stone walls, we can imagine the rhythms of daily life. The bustle of traders exchanging goods, the sound of livestock, the discussions of council members planning the governance of a vast kingdom, and the quiet hum of domestic activity within walled compounds. Artifacts recovered from the site, pottery, soapstone sculptures, and beads, reveal a society that was culturally sophisticated, deeply engaged with artistry, and connected to a wider world through trade. The city's silence today allows us to reflect on these echoes, piecing together lives and practices from the material remnants left behind. Yet, Great Zimbabwe also invites reflection on mystery and lost knowledge. Unlike Akrotiri, preserved in volcanic ash, or Mohenjo-daro, buried by time and silt, the city's story is incomplete, its purpose partially obscured. What ceremonies were held in the great enclosure? How did the political and social structures evolve over centuries? Why did its population eventually abandon these monumental walls? Archaeologists and historians can provide theories, yet the absence of definitive records preserves a sense of quiet wonder, a reminder that some aspects of human history may always remain elusive. The gradual decline of Great Zimbabwe is itself a lesson in impermanence. Human societies, no matter how powerful or sophisticated, are subject to shifts in trade, climate, and political power. While the city's walls endure, the people who built and inhabited them eventually dispersed, leaving behind only stone and story. This slow fade into silence contrasts with the sudden stillness of Akrotiri, offering a different kind of meditation on the passage of time. Here, the quiet is not abrupt, but layered, a gradual accumulation of absence that invites reflection on the ebb and flow of human civilizations. The ruins of Great Zimbabwe also speak to resilience. Despite centuries of exposure to the elements and the loss of its population, the stone structures remain remarkably intact, preserving the legacy of architectural mastery and social organization. There is a meditative rhythm in tracing the curving walls, following the passages, and imagining the ceremonial spaces where people gathered. The city embodies a quiet endurance, teaching that while human life is transient, human creation, when attuned to skill, labor, and landscape, can resonate across centuries, whispering stories long after voices have faded. Walking through the imagined streets, we are struck by contrasts. The permanence of stone against the impermanence of human life, the quietude of absence against the vibrancy of the past, and the grandeur of architecture against the simplicity of daily activities that unfolded within it. These contrasts create a tension that is both calming and thought-provoking, inviting contemplation of human ambition, achievement, and mortality. Great Zimbabwe becomes more than an archaeological site. It transforms into a meditation on the enduring patterns of civilization, the rise, the flourish, and the inevitable passage into memory. As we prepare to leave Great Zimbabwe, the plateau winds seem to carry the whispers of traders, artisans, and rulers, softly brushing against the granite walls. The city's silence does not erase its history. Rather, it invites careful listening. We hear, if only faintly, the echoes of human lives intertwined with nature, labor, and trade. In these echoes lies a profound lesson, that the cities we build, no matter how grand, are fleeting in their human occupancy, but enduring in the stories, structures, and mysteries they leave behind. Great Zimbabwe's stone labyrinth teaches us that even in silence, history can be deeply expressive. It reminds us that the rhythm of civilization is neither linear nor predictable, that societies rise and fall in ways both sudden and gradual, and that the traces of life, whether preserved by ash, stone, or memory, invite contemplation across time and space. As we move onward to our next forgotten city, we carry with us the quiet grandeur of this African plateau, its walls standing tall as both a witness and a whisper of civilizations that slipped into silence, leaving behind stories that are at once complete and eternally mysterious. From the stone labyrinths of Africa, our journey returns to Anatolia, where the remnants of Hattusa rise quietly amidst the rugged hills. Once the capital of the mighty Hittite Empire, Hattusa was a city of grandeur and fortification, a place where political power, military might, and ritual converged. Today, its walls and gates stand in quiet testimony to a civilization that flourished during the second millennium BCE, yet eventually slipped into silence, leaving behind an aura of mystery, monumental architecture, and whispered stories of power. Hattusa was a city built with foresight and ingenuity. Its streets, carefully planned, were lined with impressive stone walls, punctuated by monumental gates, each imbued with both defensive and symbolic significance. Among these, the Lion Gate stands out, a grand entrance adorned with sculpted lions that once conveyed strength, vigilance, and the protective presence of the city's rulers. The stone lions, poised eternally in mid-roar, suggest both pride and watchfulness, guarding a city that was at once administrative, ceremonial, and military in function. Passing through this gate, one might imagine the throngs of citizens, officials, and traders moving about their daily lives, all under the silent gaze of these sculpted sentinels. Inside the city, the Hittites constructed temples, palaces, and royal archives, demonstrating their dedication to both governance and religious practice. The royal palace, with its series of courtyards, reception halls, and living quarters, was a center of administration and ceremonial life. Nearby, temples and shrines hosted rituals that connected the mortal and divine, reflecting a society deeply engaged with spiritual concerns. Inscriptions and reliefs found within Hattusa provide glimpses into the beliefs, laws, and customs that structured life in this ancient capital. These traces of human activity allow us to reconstruct the rhythms of a city that balanced the practical demands of governance with the transcendence of religious devotion. The daily life of Hattusa's inhabitants was likely a delicate blend of routine and ceremony. Streets would have bustled with merchants trading grain, textiles, and crafted goods. Craftsmen shaped tools, weapons, and artwork, leaving subtle traces of skill and artistry that survive in the ruins. Families moved through courtyards and homes, tending to chores, meals, and the social connections that knit the community together. The city was alive with motion, sound, and purpose, a vibrant hub at the heart of an empire. And yet, the fate of Hattusa, like so many ancient cities, reminds us that even grandeur cannot fully resist the impermanence of human endeavor. Hattusa's decline, while less sudden than Akrotiri's ash-covered stillness, was no less profound. Scholars suggest a combination of factors: internal political instability, external invasions, and perhaps environmental pressures, such as shifts in climate or agricultural yield. Over time, the population dwindled, buildings fell into disrepair, and the city's streets grew silent. By the end of the first millennium BCE, Hattusa was largely abandoned, leaving behind only its impressive walls, gates, and fragments of a once powerful empire. The city's silence is layered, the result of both natural decay and historical forces, offering a contemplative meditation on the fragility and impermanence of power. The Lion Gate itself captures the paradox of human ambition. It stands as a monumental testament to authority, yet it now guards emptiness. Its sculpted lions, frozen in eternal vigilance, suggest a city prepared for defense, hierarchy, and control. Yet they now witness only the quiet passage of time, the wind whispering through the ruins and the faint echo of human presence. This contrast between human intent and natural or historical outcome is central to the reflective experience of exploring forgotten cities. It invites contemplation of what endures and what fades, of the tension between striving for permanence and succumbing to the inevitability of change. Hattusa also offers insight into the sophistication of its society. The city's extensive fortifications, precise layout, and administrative archives indicate advanced urban planning and complex governance. Roads were likely designed to facilitate trade, military movement, and civic interaction, while temples and public spaces provided centers for spiritual and communal life. This integration of political, religious, and social structures reflects a nuanced understanding of urban life, highlighting the ability of human societies to create multifaceted, functioning communities even in the ancient world. Yet, Hattusa's silence is perhaps its most profound feature. Walking, or imagining walking, through the ruins, we encounter empty streets, crumbling walls, and scattered remnants of everyday life. The absence of human voices invites a contemplative stillness, allowing us to focus on subtler echoes. The way sunlight falls across stone corridors, the quiet texture of sculpted reliefs, and the rhythm of wind through archways and gates. In this quiet, history becomes meditative rather than instructive, a gentle unfolding of curiosity, reflection, and awareness of the passage of time. The city's decline also serves as a reminder of the impermanence of even the greatest human achievements. Hattusa was a center of empire, a hub of commerce, and a ceremonial capital. Yet centuries later, it exists primarily in the imagination, in archaeological interpretation, and in the slow decay of stone and earth. Its grandeur, while enduring in form, is a shadow of its former vitality, a silent echo of ambition, governance, and daily life. And yet, there is comfort in this reflection. The traces left behind offer a link across millennia, a story quietly waiting for attentive listeners and dreamers to reconstruct and imagine. As we prepare to leave Hattusa, we carry with us the vision of a city that balanced power, spirituality, and daily life in a delicate, sophisticated dance. Its lion gate, its palaces, and its streets continue to speak, not in the voices of its people, but through the enduring presence of their creations. The city, once a symbol of empire, now becomes a symbol of reflection, inviting us to consider the cycles of rise and fall, of presence and absence, that shape all human endeavors. Hattusa reminds us that cities are more than their walls. They are vessels of human experience, culture, and imagination. Even in silence, they can teach us about ambition, resilience, and the subtle forces of history and nature that shape civilizations. As we drift onward in this journey through forgotten cities, the quiet ruins of Hattusa serve as a guide, encouraging contemplation, curiosity, and a gentle wonder at the impermanence and persistence of human life across time. Teotihuacan, often referred to as the City of the Gods, stands as one of the most awe-inspiring and enigmatic cities of ancient Mesoamerica. Situated in the basin of Mexico, roughly 30 miles northeast of modern-day Mexico City, Teotihuacan was at its peak between 100 BCE and 750 CE. It was a thriving metropolis, with estimates suggesting the city housed over 100,000 inhabitants, making it one of the largest cities in the world at the time. Despite its scale, sophistication, and influence, the city's origins remain shrouded in mystery. Little is known about the people who built Teotihuacan, their language, or their culture. What is even more puzzling is the sudden decline of this grand city, which faded into obscurity long before it was rediscovered by modern archaeologists. The city's most iconic features are its monumental pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, which rise majestically above the city's sprawling ruins. These pyramids, along with the Avenue of the Dead, which cuts through the heart of the city, create an imposing and otherworldly atmosphere. The sheer scale of these structures is awe-inspiring, and their alignment with celestial bodies, especially the positioning of the Pyramid of the Sun, suggests an advanced understanding of astronomy. The city was laid out with remarkable precision, featuring wide streets, elaborate residential compounds, and an extensive network of temples and plazas. It was a place of great ceremonial and religious significance, believed to be a spiritual center where gods were worshipped and cosmic forces were celebrated. Yet, despite its architectural grandeur, Teotihuacan offers no definitive answers about its creators. Archaeological evidence points to a highly organized society, but the people who live there left no written records to reveal their identities. The absence of inscriptions, the lack of any identifiable rulers, and the general lack of a coherent understanding of their language make it difficult to reconstruct their history with certainty. Who were the people of Teotihuacan? Some theories suggest they were a multi-ethnic society that came together from various cultural backgrounds. Others propose that the city may have been ruled by a collective group or a council of elites rather than a singular ruler, a model of governance that was unusual for ancient civilizations. Another striking aspect of Teotihuacan's mystery is its eventual decline. By the 7th or 8th century, the once thriving city began to experience signs of abandonment. Many of its temples and pyramids were deliberately destroyed or desecrated, suggesting social unrest or conflict. Theories abound as to what caused the city's downfall. Some suggest that the collapse was the result of internal strife, perhaps linked to social or political upheaval, while others propose that external forces such as military invasions, environmental changes, or the depletion of resources might have played a role. What is certain is that by the time the Spanish arrived in the region in the 16th century, Teotihuacan had already been long forgotten, its ruins hidden beneath layers of time. While much of the city's history remains speculative, recent archaeological discoveries continue to add new layers to our understanding of Teotihuacan. In the 21st century, researchers have uncovered intricate murals in the ruins, revealing depictions of gods, ceremonial practices, and even evidence of human sacrifice, suggesting that Teotihuacan's spiritual life was as complex and rich as its physical structures. These findings offer glimpses into the cultural practices of the Teotihuacanos, yet the overall story of their rise and fall remains an unsolved puzzle. The mystery surrounding Teotihuacan is compounded by the fact that the city's influence extended far beyond its own borders. It had a profound impact on neighboring Mesoamerican cultures, including the Maya and the Zapotecs, who adopted many elements of Teotihuacan's art, architecture, and religious practices. The city's reach suggests that it was not just a local power, but a hub of cultural exchange and influence in ancient Mesoamerica. Yet, despite its far-reaching legacy, Teotihuacan's silence in the annals of history remains a testament to the transience of even the greatest civilizations. The enigma of Teotihuacan serves as a poignant reminder of how much of our history has been lost to time. While the city's ruins stand as a testament to its former glory, much of the knowledge that could illuminate its past remains hidden. With each new discovery, we are reminded that the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the stones, in the silence of the ruins, waiting for us to listen and learn. The mystery of Teotihuacan, like so many other forgotten cities, invites us to reflect on the fragility of human achievement and the transient nature of power. As we continue to explore and study its secrets, we are left with more questions than answers, which only deepens our fascination with this ancient city. The city of the gods remains, for now, a timeless puzzle, a city whose mysteries may never fully be solved, yet whose legacy endures in the silent echoes of its monumental ruins. The Indus Valley Civilization, one of the world's oldest urban cultures, flourished around 2500 BCE in what is now Pakistan and northwest India. The civilization spanned an extensive area, stretching from the shores of the Arabian Sea to the foothills of the Himalayas, and its two major cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, stand as monumental testaments to its advanced society. Unlike the more familiar cultures of ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, or even Mesoamerica, the Indus Valley civilization remains shrouded in a deep veil of mystery. Its cities were marvels of urban planning, complete with sophisticated drainage systems, standardized weights and measures, and expansive granaries. Yet, despite its impressive achievements, the civilization's sudden decline and its eventual disappearance from history remain largely unexplained. The ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro reveal a well-organized society that appeared to have no need for the grandiose temples or monumental structures that characterized other ancient civilizations. Instead, their cities were focused on functionality, with meticulously planned streets laid out in a grid pattern, houses with private bathrooms, and drainage systems that were far ahead of their time. This indicates a culture that valued hygiene, order, and efficiency, a stark contrast to the chaotic, often unpredictable nature of ancient urban life elsewhere. The uniformity of the city layouts also suggests that the people of the Indus Valley adhered to a central authority or shared cultural norms, although there is no evidence of a distinct ruling class or centralized government. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, there are no monumental palaces or royal tombs to suggest a strong king or a system of dynastic rule. In addition to its urban planning, the Indus Valley civilization excelled in craftsmanship and trade. Artifacts found at these sites demonstrate remarkable skill in bead-making, pottery, and metallurgy, with evidence of trade links stretching as far as Mesopotamia. The people of the Indus Valley used a form of writing that remains undeciphered to this day, further adding to the mystery of their culture. Though numerous inscriptions have been found on seals and pottery, no one has yet been able to translate their script. This linguistic barrier has made it incredibly difficult for historians to fully understand the social, political, or religious structure of the Indus Valley civilization, leaving much of its history veiled in uncertainty. Despite the sophistication of the Indus Valley, it appears to have disappeared almost as suddenly as it rose. By around 1900 BCE, the once thriving cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were abandoned, and the civilization faded into obscurity. Several theories have been proposed to explain the sudden decline of this advanced society. Some scholars suggest that climate change, specifically a shift in the course of the Indus River, may have led to widespread flooding or droughts that disrupted agriculture and the economy. Others propose that overuse of resources or deforestation may have contributed to environmental degradation, leading to the collapse of the urban centers. Another theory posits that the civilization's decline was a result of invasion or migration by Indo-Aryan peoples, although there is little concrete evidence to support this. What makes the disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization particularly perplexing is the fact that, unlike the fall of other great civilizations, there is no clear record of warfare, destruction, or conflict. The cities were not violently sacked, and their inhabitants did not leave behind a trail of devastation. Instead, the remains of the cities indicate that they were slowly abandoned, with buildings falling into disrepair and a gradual shift away from urban life. Some have suggested that the collapse was more a result of internal factors, such as social or economic instability, rather than an external threat. Even more puzzling is the fact that, after the decline of the Indus Valley civilization, the region did not experience a sudden reversion to a primitive state. Instead, the people of the area continued to live in villages and small towns, and elements of Indus Valley culture seem to have been absorbed into later cultures, particularly the Vedic culture that arose in the region around the time of the decline. This suggests that the knowledge and practices of the Indus Valley did not disappear entirely, but were somehow integrated into the evolving societies that followed. The disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization, therefore, represents not an absolute erasure, but a transition, one that remains difficult to fully comprehend. Despite extensive archaeological work, the mystery of why and how the Indus Valley civilization vanished continues to baffle researchers. While new discoveries, such as the excavation of smaller Indus sites and the analysis of ancient water systems, offer tantalizing glimpses into the civilization's complexities, the full picture remains elusive. The written language of the Indus people, still undeciphered after over a century of study, continues to be one of the greatest puzzles in the field of archaeology. The lack of a clear narrative, be it a myth, a legend, or a historical account, adds to the sense of silence that surrounds this ancient civilization. Today, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro stand as silent witnesses to a bygone era, with their carefully planned streets and ruined buildings serving as a stark reminder of civilization that once thrived and then vanished without a trace. Their silence is not just the absence of sound, but the absence of answers, leaving historians and archaeologists with more questions than solutions. What truly happened to the Indus Valley people? Did they fade away due to environmental catastrophe, social upheaval, or some other unknown factor? Or did they simply evolve into something else, their legacy carried forward in ways we have yet to fully understand? As we gaze upon the ruins of the Indus Valley, we are reminded of the transience of human civilization. The silence that envelopes these ancient cities serves as a powerful symbol of the fragility of all human endeavors. The mysteries of the Indus Valley civilization, like those of other lost cultures, may never be fully unraveled. Yet, their remains continue to inspire wonder and curiosity, prompting us to reflect on the passing of time and the enduring legacy of cultures long since disappeared. These silent cities, with their undying enigma, remind us that history is not just about the past. It is about the questions we still seek to answer, and the mysteries that continue to echo through the sands of time. Teotihuacan, often dubbed the City of the Gods, holds an almost mythic place in the ancient world. Unlike many other ancient civilizations, Teotihuacan was not defined by monumental palaces or grand dynastic histories. Instead, its power was rooted in its massive scale, its architectural genius, and the strange silence that surrounds its rise and fall. Nestled in the Valley of Mexico, Teotihuacan flourished between the 1st and 7th centuries CE, becoming one of the largest cities in the pre-Columbian Americas. The city's population at its peak is estimated to have been over 100,000 people, making it an unparalleled urban center for its time. Yet, despite its size and influence, the identity of the people who built Teotihuacan remains an unsolved riddle. Who were they, and why did they choose such an extraordinary and enigmatic path? One of the most striking features of Teotihuacan is its unparalleled urban planning. The city's layout is precise and sophisticated, with the Avenue of the Dead cutting through its heart, flanked by towering pyramids, temples, and ceremonial structures. The Pyramid of the Sun, one of the largest in the world, rises majestically at the heart of the city, serving as both a religious and symbolic focal point. The nearby Pyramid of the Moon, positioned at the northern end of the Avenue of the Dead, complements the city's design with a powerful sense of symmetry and astronomical alignment. These structures, while massive, are not the product of a single ruler's ego, but rather they reflect a collective effort, a shared vision of a society that valued cosmic and earthly harmony. The layout of the city was not just a feat of engineering, but also a reflection of the religious and cultural principles that govern life there. Teotihuacan was not simply a city. It was a center of influence that spread its culture, religious practices, and innovations across much of Mesoamerica. The city's artistic and architectural styles can be found in distant regions, and its influence can be traced in the cultures that followed, particularly among the Maya and Zapotec civilizations. The murals found on the walls of Teotihuacan's temples and residential compounds depict elaborate rituals, gods, and a range of symbols that suggest a complex belief system centered around the forces of nature, the heavens, and the earth. The imagery found at Teotihuacan, particularly in the murals of the Pyramid of the Sun, hints at the city's profound connection to celestial cycles. These images were not merely decorative, but were deeply symbolic, representing a society that saw itself as an intermediary between the divine and the mortal realms. Despite its grandeur and influence, Teotihuacan was marked by an air of mystery. Its culture was not entirely unique in terms of architectural achievements, yet the city's ability to maintain a complex, unified society over centuries was remarkable. What remains particularly enigmatic is the absence of a clearly identifiable ruling class. In contrast to other ancient cities that were often defined by powerful monarchs or dynasties, Teotihuacan's rulers remain anonymous, their identities buried beneath layers of time. There are no grand inscriptions or records to shed light on the city's leadership. In fact, some scholars believe that Teotihuacan may have been governed by a collective leadership, a council of elites or priestly figures, rather than a single ruler. This idea is in stark contrast to the more hierarchical, monarchic societies that flourished in other parts of the world, such as Egypt or Mesopotamia, and it adds another layer to the mystery of the city. The decline of Teotihuacan is just as mysterious as its rise. By the end of the 7th century, the city began to experience signs of abandonment. The once grand pyramids and temples were damaged, and there is evidence of widespread destruction, particularly in the city's core. Yet, unlike other great civilizations, there was no large-scale invasion or catastrophic event that could account for the city's fall. Instead, the collapse of Teotihuacan appears to have been gradual, marked by internal strife, perhaps in the form of social unrest, political fragmentation, or economic decline. Some archaeologists suggest that overexploitation of resources, particularly the area's natural resources, may have contributed to the city's downfall. Others propose that environmental changes, such as drought or a shift in the region's climate, played a role in disrupting the agricultural systems that supported the city. One of the most curious aspects of Teotihuacan's decline is the lack of clear documentation. Unlike other civilizations, there are no written records to explain what happened to Teotihuacan. The absence of these records means that the causes of the city's demise are the subject of much speculation. Theories abound, ranging from internal rebellion to external invasion, but there is no definitive answer. Some scholars point to a significant change in the pattern of the city's architecture. Many of the city's most sacred temples were looted or destroyed in a systematic fashion, indicating that perhaps the city's religious and political order collapsed from within. This destruction of the sacred core of the city suggests that Teotihuacan may have experienced an ideological or spiritual collapse, where the very foundation of its belief system was shattered. Interestingly, although Teotihuacan was abandoned, its legacy lived on in the cultures that followed. The Maya, for instance, adopted many of Teotihuacan's architectural and artistic styles, incorporating them into their own cities, such as Tikal and Copan. These cities, though geographically distant, shared common cultural traits with Teotihuacan, including similar pyramidal structures and ceremonial practices. The influence of Teotihuacan on these cultures suggests that, while the city itself faded, its cultural impact endured. This continuity of influence further fuels the mystery of the city. How could such a powerful center of civilization simply vanish, leaving behind only whispers of its existence, yet continue to shape the future of Mesoamerica? Teotihuacan, like many lost cities, serves as a symbol of both the grandeur and fragility of ancient civilizations. Its silence is a stark reminder of how even the most influential societies can vanish without a trace, leaving behind only ruins, legends, and unanswered questions. The city's awe-inspiring pyramids and meticulously planned streets continue to stand as testaments to the ingenuity of its creators. But the lack of knowledge about its people, their rulers, and the reasons behind the city's decline imbues Teotihuacan with a haunting sense of mystery. This mystery, rather than diminishing its significance, only amplifies its allure. The unanswered questions surrounding Teotihuacan continue to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and curious minds alike, leaving the city as one of the most enigmatic and enduring symbols of a lost civilization. As we draw our journey through these forgotten ancient cities to a close, the common thread that ties them together is not only the mystery of their decline, but also the enduring curiosity they provoke. These cities, from Teotihuacan to Mohenjo-daro, from Angkor to the lost cities of the Maya, embody a paradox of brilliance and enigma. In their prime, they were beacons of innovation, cultural exchange, and human achievement. Yet today, they stand as silent monuments to the passage of time, reminders of how fragile even the greatest civilizations can be. What happened to these remarkable cities? Why did they fade into silence, leaving behind only ruins and fragmented stories? The questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they are meant to remain so. What is perhaps most compelling about these cities is the way they continue to inspire. Despite their physical disappearance, their legacies endure in the memories of those who study them, in the ongoing excavation of their ruins, and in the stories passed down through generations. The unanswered mysteries surrounding these cities do not diminish their significance. Instead, they amplify it. They challenge us to rethink the assumptions we hold about history, about the rise and fall of civilizations, the forces that shape societies, and the fragility of human achievement. They invite us to explore the boundaries of knowledge, to push the limits of what we understand about the ancient world. For many, the mysteries of these ancient cities are not just historical curiosities, but profound reflections on the impermanence of human life. The rise and fall of civilizations, the building and destruction of cities, remind us that nothing is permanent. Empires rise, flourish, and fall, but the earth continues its endless cycles, indifferent to human ambition. The fleeting nature of human endeavor is encapsulated in these silent ruins. Silent not because they have nothing to say, but because the voices that once filled them have long been stilled. And yet, these ruins still hold echoes of the past, waiting to be heard by those who seek to understand. In many ways, the abandonment of these ancient cities may reflect a universal theme, the inevitability of change. Whether it was a shift in climate, social upheaval, or the slow unraveling of a once unified society, these cities show us that change is often unpredictable and uncontrollable. No civilization, no matter how advanced, is immune to the forces of time and nature. And yet, as these cities were abandoned and forgotten, they were also, in a sense, reborn. In their absence, they became symbols of mystery and wonder. The more we try to understand them, the more they slip further from our grasp, which only deepens the fascination and reverence we hold for them. In a way, the mystery surrounding these cities encourages us to look beyond the surface of history, to consider not only what is known, but also what remains unknowable. The people who built these cities, the civilizations that thrived within them, left behind physical traces of their existence. Pyramids, temples, walls, pottery, tools, but their stories, their beliefs, their reasons for abandoning these once thriving hubs of culture and life remain out of reach. It is this mystery that continues to captivate us, drawing us into a deeper exploration of humanity's shared past. These cities remind us that history is not just a linear progression of events. It is also a labyrinth of lost voices, unanswered questions, and hidden truths. For those who seek to uncover the mysteries of the past, these lost cities serve as both a challenge and a call. Archaeologists and historians, armed with new technologies and innovative methods, continue to uncover fragments of the past, piecing together the puzzles left behind. Yet, there is something inherently humbling about the pursuit of ancient knowledge. The more we discover, the more we realize how much remains to be learned. In many ways, this sense of mystery is not a limitation, but an invitation. It reminds us that we are always on the cusp of something greater, a new understanding of the forces that shaped the ancient world. Each discovery, no matter how small, brings us closer to the truth. Yet, paradoxically, the more we learn, the more questions arise. As we reflect on the forgotten ancient cities that have slipped into silence, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit. These cities were built not just to stand as monuments, but to endure. Even in their abandonment, they continue to stand, enduring the passage of centuries, witnessing the rise and fall of empires, and offering glimpses of a time long past. They stand as a testament to human ambition, creativity, and the desire to leave a legacy. In their silence, they speak volumes, offering a quiet yet profound commentary on the impermanence of all things and the enduring power of mystery. Ultimately, the allure of these ancient cities lies not in the answers we have, but in the questions they provoke. They invite us to look deeper into the past, to ask not just how they fell, but why they rose in the first place. What motivated their builders? What drove their inhabitants to create such grand cities, and what led them to abandon them? These cities, now long gone, may never reveal all their secrets, but the questions they raise continue to resonate with us today. In that sense, they remain very much alive in our imaginations, in our searches for meaning, and in our endless fascination with the mysteries of the past. In the end, these forgotten cities remind us that history is not a static record of facts, but a living, breathing story that continues to unfold. It is a story of rise and fall, of creation and destruction, of knowledge and mystery. The cities may be gone, but their influence endures, woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness. And as we look toward the future, the mysteries of these ancient cities will continue to inspire us, urging us to seek answers and, perhaps more importantly, to embrace the beauty and the mystery that history holds in its silent, forgotten corners. As the final notes of our journey echo through the ancient ruins and forgotten cities we have explored, we are left with more than just questions. We are left with reflections on the transitory nature of human history. The ruins of these once thriving civilizations are like the faintest whispers in the wind, their stories half told, their voices muffled by the sands of time. Yet, as much as these ancient cities remain veiled in mystery, they also invite us to pause and reflect on something profound: the shared experiences of humanity across centuries, cultures, and geographies. While each of these cities has its own unique history, the underlying truths that unite them are universal. The rise and fall of civilizations are as much a part of the human story as our personal lives. We build, we create, we thrive, and then often we disappear, leaving behind only the echoes of our achievements. These cities, now silent, once hummed with the sounds of life. The laughter of children playing in the streets, the murmur of traders in bustling markets, the songs of priests performing rituals to gods. And now, their once vibrant streets are abandoned, their temples broken, their palaces reduced to rubble. The stillness of these ruins speaks volumes, reminding us of how fleeting our time on this earth truly is. Yet in this silence, there's also a sense of resilience. The very fact that these ancient cities continue to captivate our imaginations, thousands of years after their abandonment, speaks to the indomitable nature of human ambition. These cities may have vanished, but the stories of the people who built them have not. We remember them through the fragments of pottery, the walls of stone, the intricate carvings, and the worn steps leading to ancient temples. We reconstruct their lives through the artifacts they left behind, through the deep traces of their culture, through the architecture that still stands defiant against time. These remnants are not just physical. They're emotional and intellectual legacies that transcend the centuries. There is something deeply humbling about our attempts to understand the rise and fall of these civilizations. We approach these ancient cities with a sense of reverence, driven by curiosity, awe, and respect for the ingenuity that built them. But we also come with an awareness of our own mortality, our own place in the timeline of human history. Just as we try to decipher the mystery of the people of Teotihuacan, Mohenjo-daro, or Angkor, we are simultaneously reminded of the impermanence of all things. These cities were once the pinnacles of human achievement, and yet they too have been swallowed by the vastness of time, their stories forever suspended in the quiet of history. The lesson these lost cities impart is not just about the fragility of civilizations, but about the importance of legacy and memory. Even as we grapple with the unknowns of the past, we recognize the importance of preserving the legacies we inherit. The cities we have explored, though long abandoned, continue to be a bridge to the past, a connection to a world that once existed. Their stories serve as a reminder that history is not just a linear progression of events, but a rich tapestry of human experiences, triumphs, and tragedies that shape who we are today. In a way, these forgotten cities ask us not just to look back, but to consider the future. What will remain of our civilization in 1,000 or 2,000 years? What will the cities of our time look like to those who come after us? Will our achievements be remembered with awe and curiosity as we remember the cities of ancient Mesoamerica and the Indus Valley? Or will they be erased, their stories lost to time, as civilizations rise and fall with the tides of history? These are questions we cannot answer now, but they are questions worth contemplating as we move forward. The silence of these ancient cities is not just a silence of abandonment, but of potential. They represent the unanswered questions of history, those that will never be fully solved, yet those that still hold the power to inspire, to guide, and to challenge us. The mystery of these cities, in all their complexity and wonder, remains not as a void, but as a spark that continues to fuel our collective curiosity. Each discovery we make about these cities only opens the door to further questions, creating a cycle of inquiry that stretches across generations. In the end, the lost cities of the past, whether they are buried beneath the sands of the desert, hidden deep in the jungle, or quietly resting under the weight of time, remain as monuments to the resilience and creativity of the human spirit. Their stories are incomplete, yes, but they are not forgotten. The mysteries they leave behind continue to captivate and challenge us, urging us to seek out the untold stories of our shared history. As we wander through these ancient landscapes, we are reminded that the search for knowledge is never truly finished. Just as we stand in awe before the ruins of civilizations long gone, we too must contribute to the ever-evolving story of humanity, leaving behind our own mark for those who will come after us. And so, while these cities may no longer stand as they once did, their legacy lives on, not in the stone and mortar of their buildings, but in the questions they provoke, in the imagination they inspire, and in the quiet, yet powerful, reminder that history is not just a record of the past. It is a living, breathing story that continues to unfold, with each generation adding new layers to the mystery, the wonder, and the complexity of the human experience.